The three main sources that give us information about these two groups are the New Testament, Josephus, and rabbinical literature. Josephus usually represents the Pharisees in a positive manner, but does not give us a lot of information about their practices and their beliefs. The New Testament gives a brief outlay of the Pharisees and Sadducees than Josephus. The rabbinical literature was written after the New Testament, so the events recorded about the Pharisees and Sadducees were later than that established in the New Testament. The Sadducees developed out of the hereditary high priesthood by Judas Maccabeus. The Sadducees rose up to powerful positions within the Sanhedrin as chief priests and high priests, holding 70 seats in the ruling council. They held these seats during the time of Christ and the New Testament era. The Sadducees were more concerned with politics and religion, in agreeing with keeping peace with the Romans. The common people do not admire the Sadducees, neither did they get along with them. Majority of the time, the Sadducees, needing the favor of the common people, consulted with the Pharisees due to the popularity of the Pharisees amongst the people. The Pharisees originated in the Hasmonean period and were socially powerful leaders. On Janneus' deathbed, he instructed his wife Alexandra to give the Pharisees a certain amount of power to keep favor with the masses. With this new established power, the Pharisees used their power to obtain vengeance, mostly on the Sadducees. It is said in Hebrew that the word Pharisee means to separate. This term may suggest a physical or a spiritual separation from the other Jews. The Pharisees were seen as middle-class, ordinary businessmen and priests. They related to the common people and were the most popular out of the three groups, Pharisees, Sadducees, and Essenes. The Pharisees wanted the Jews to make Israel a holy nation set apart by God, following the Halakha, which was the laws and traditions laid out by them. The Sadducees believed in the Torah, which were the first 5 books of the Old Testament, as the written word from God. The Sadducees, however, did not believe in the oral law, which was the prophetic books, Psalms, Songs of Solomon, and the other books, which are the now Old Testament. As according to the Word of God, the Sadducees didn't believe in the resurrection of the dead. They believed that your soul perished after death and that there is no afterlife, in addition to non-existence of demons and angels. The Pharisees believed that keeping God's law, being the Torah, and oral law, would make Israel victorious and safe from enemies. They encouraged others to have a faith in God apart from having to worship in the temple. Apart from the Sadducees and Pharisees' belief in the resurrection of the dead and the eternal afterlife with the Heavenly Father, also in contrast to the Sadducees and the Pharisees, they believed in angels and demons. Jesus and his family originated from the Pharisaic movement, although it was seen that Jesus and the Pharisees shared in tradition of Judaism, there were distinctive differences between them. Jesus and the Pharisees were at odds concerning interpretation of the Torah. Jesus opposed to the oral tradition that the Pharisees had created. Jesus accused the Pharisees of being pretentious and hypocritical, as the Pharisees were more concerned with the outward appearance of man in upholding the traditions in front of the people, while only honoring the Lord with their lips and not with their hearts. Jesus and the early church also had some good interaction with the few Pharisees. Nicodemus and Josephus both respected and honored Jesus after the crucifixion by honoring him with the traditional Jewish burial. Nicodemus recognized that Jesus is a rabbi from God, seeking instruction and truth. Joseph and other Pharisees were secret believers of Jesus and showed hospitality toward him. The end of the Pharisees and Sadducees took place after the Romans quenched the Jewish revolt in 66 to 70 CE.